What's going on, LinkedIn and other platforms? We are on here. We're live. Let's go, Master Connectors. Let's get ready to rumble. He challenged me. He said, you should meet 2 or 3 people every day.
We're talking about how to level up on LinkedIn and engagement, being the go-giver, the idea that being open to opportunity.
We're all deal with challenges, but how do you overcome that?
Master Connector with Steve Spiro is live on air.
Yes, we are live on air. How you doing? What's going on, friends? Steve Spiro, the Master Connector, coming at you live and direct here. And, say, hey, what I want you to do, this is the Master Connector show. So I want you to go ahead. If you haven't already, let us know where you're tuning in from, what city, what state, what country. We love our community. We love everyone here. You mean a lot to us. If this is valuable for you, make sure you share this out with the community, right? But make sure you're in the comments, because we don't know if you're here if we don't know you're here. Okay. We, in other words, we may get numbers saying, hey, X number of people watching, but we don't know who you are unless you get in the comments. So just put something in the comment. Again, start with where you're from, what you do, whatever, anything like that. And then, it'd be great. So we're going to get things rolling here. And we got a fun, exciting show planned ahead here. So I want to just, start this off. Listen, I'm thrilled to be here with you today as we embark on a journey of discovery and enlightenment. Ooh, that sounds pretty cool, right? We're going to delve into the potential to revolutionize the way you approach business. Big expectations. I'm setting ourselves up here, right? We're going to, first and foremost, we're going to demystify the concept of revenue operations, okay? Many of you may be wondering, what the heck is revenue operations, right? And why is it so crucial? Well, we're going to unravel this enigma and provide you with clear understanding of what revenue operations is, what it actually is. And it's a term that's been gaining momentum. And today you'll gain insight into why it's the heartbeat of modern business success. The next thing we'll do is we're going to shift our focus to a powerful philosophy that's changing the game in modern selling, which is quality over quantity. Okay. And I hate the word selling, but hey, listen, I'm married. I sold. If you got a job, you sold because you got people to hire you, whatever, right? If you have clients, you sell. Okay. So we also, listen, we're in a world now where we're inundated with information and options. It's becoming increasingly evident that a strategic approach based on quality is far more effective than the scattergun approach of quantity. Okay. And our guest today is going to shed some light on why his shift in mindset is paramount for your business's growth and longevity. Okay. But that's not all we're going to talk about. We're going to dive deeper into the transformative power of data-driven process. I just wanted you to picture this, right? Achieving a significant impact on your bottom line while reducing costs without compromising the level of customer service that you provide. Sounds pretty cool, hopefully, to you. I know it does for me. But in a world where there's a lot of posers and all that, this may sound too good to be true, but it's not. Okay. Through data-driven optimization, you can deliver a better client experience while reducing costs through strategic efficiency, not by simply slashing expenses. There's other ways here, and the insights that we have here are power to transform your business and set you on a path to sustainable success. So your business transformation begins right here, right now, and I'm telling you, this is going to be a great show. So if you're ready for us to introduce our guests. Plural, because there's a second guest here, and I'm going to tell you about him in a minute. But I want you to type in right now, and Rob G, hopefully, can help me here. Hashtag Let's Go, as I want you to put that right in the comments right now, because we are on the Master Connector Show. We are LinkedIn participants not LinkedIn lurkers, right? So we're in there getting and participating. So type in hashtag let's go, and we'll go ahead and get things rolling here. All right. Thank you, Rob G. I appreciate you, sir. Well, speaking of Rob G, I am going to bring him to the stage here, and I'm going to make him larger because I am blessed to introduce a great friend of mine. Rob Genovese is a brand builder. After 25 years in the creative industry, having worked in advertising, marketing, and publishing, Rob launched his branding and design company, offering strategy, design, and coaching for mid-sized businesses looking to stand out from their competition. With the success of that business, Rob partnered with another brander to launch an online branding community designed to teach the self-employed how to build a brand in a supportive, collaborative, and fun environment. Rob, on a side note, Rob loves to spend time hanging out at home with his wife, amazing wife, Ann, kids, dog, and a cat in between rounds of golf. I think he told me he plays at least once a week, which is awesome. So if you're ready, please welcome to the show my friend for over 20 years, probably more than that, an amazing man, Mr. Rob G. I call him.
All right. Thank you, Steve. Appreciate it. It's good to be here. Yeah, we go back 27 years. I was thinking about it. 27 years ago.
Please, man. I'm only 28, so I don't know. I guess we met at 1 year old, right?
We were just toddlers then.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but it's been a long, great journey, and I really appreciate the call that you gave me, and when you decided, hey, I think I need to fill a slot as a co-host on here. So I always welcome the opportunity for new opportunities, and we haven't done things together in a long time, so it's good to circle back to this. So appreciate it.
Absolutely. And for those who haven't, we spoke a little bit about this on the show last week, but Cameron has moved on. He's still a friend of the show. In fact, I think he might be tuning in right now. We love Cameron. Cam was incredible. I wouldn't have this show if it wasn't for him. He's been incredible for us, but he is in the event staffing, catering event staffing business, right? And his business was dead during COVID. So getting on, doing a LinkedIn Live was great. Gave us an opportunity to be productive and to have fun. But now his business just completely exploded after COVID. So he's moving on, but blessed to have Rob G on here with us. So Rob, I'm going to turn it over to you. I'm going to take myself out of the picture here and have you bring up our guest, if you don't mind, sir.
Absolutely. Happy to do this. So good to have you all here. Thank you for plugging in the chat there. Make sure you're in the chat because we want to, this show isn't anything without you guys. But I'm going to bring up our guest for today. I want to introduce Rob Turley, A.K.A. the RevOps Hitman, founder and principal consultant of RevOps Hitman Consulting Company and co-founder / CRO of MyCompanion AI. He's a seasoned revenue operations or RevOps expert. Can't wait to hear about that. Process architect, psycholinguist, serial entrepreneur, patent inventor, and a truly disruptive innovator. Disruptive, that's my word. I love that. I can't wait to hear this. But Rob started his first company, believe it or not, at the age of 12. I wasn't even thinking about business. This guy's starting one. Then he quickly made his way into the position he holds now by working with numerous startups and established companies in all different life cycle stages across many industries as a complicated path to become the impossible problem solver he's known as today. Please welcome to the show, Mr. Rob Turley. Welcome.
Hey, thank you so much for the awesome introduction, Rob G. I appreciate that. And Steve, thank you so much for having me. It's an incredible to be here. And yeah, that was a whole lot that you just put in front of me right there. That's awesome. But yeah, 12 years old, started the first company. It's because my parents never gave me anything as far as money to get anything. I remember the first lesson that I learned. I wanted this little toy truck. And I was at the toy store with my mom. She was picking up a birthday present for my cousin. And I said, I want this. This is one of those breakaway NASCAR trucks. And you hit it against the wall, it breaks, and then you can snap it back together. And she had me grab it off the counter. I was super excited. I brought it up to the counter to pay for it, right? And then they rung it up, and the woman at the counter said, okay, that'll be $12. My mother just looked at me and said, oh, where's your money? And I don't have any. She was like, oh, well, that's how the world works. Put it back. And then from that point in time forward, that stuck with me forever. But it was one of the best lessons I've ever learned.
That is a great lesson.
There really is. That is. I had a similar, I think we may have shared a little bit about this when we had initially had our conversation, but I grew up broke. I didn't even think we had enough money to even travel to the stores. So I knew if it was up to me, I learned that early on. If it was to be, it's up to me. And I had to, I started working pretty young too. But I can't say it was a company at 12. So pretty impressive for sure.
Yeah, well, I mean, so I started mowing lawns, right? Just like a lot of kids do. But then
Yeah.
I started bringing in other people to mow lawns, and then they would pay me, and then they would get a cut type of a thing. But then from there, it got a little muddy in the water. Then started doing other things such as like storage locker auctions. Started doing sales at different flea markets, things like that. That clean out attics for free, and then take whatever they had. They'd make a list of what they wanted to keep because they were hoarding stuff. I would throw out everything that was garbage and then keep anything that was worth anything. Sometimes you'd run into some really awesome collectibles too, but that was all part of the business. And then you go to resell those.
That's amazing. Yeah, we it's interesting, right? So your first company, if you will, your first endeavor was mowing lawns. Now I lived in the Bronx, right? It's the concrete jungle. The only thing that we saw grass wise was something you put in a bong, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
There was no grass in our neighborhoods. If there was, it was like a little, like maybe 3 foot by 3 foot little front of somebody's yard. Because there were a few houses on our block, but mostly it was very large apartment buildings.
So you can mow the lawn with a pair of scissors.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. So good stuff. Well, it's great to have you on here, so I want you to community type in hashtag young right now if you can, because we want to. So tell us a little bit about one of the things that we're big on is overcoming obstacles, and tell us. I'd love to hear a fun story on when you were younger and you had those businesses in the early stages, and maybe one fun story of what was like, how you got through an obstacle, whatever, if something comes to mind, because I got to believe there's some crazy things that you've gone through at that age, especially.
Well, the thing is, so when you're trying to sell something, right, you need inventory. And getting inventory is not exactly the easiest thing in the world when you have no money or you have very little money. So what do? Well, you have to find a way to make that inventory. So what I did was say, okay, I'll offer a free service to clean out these attics, right? So work for free. They'd have to buy the dumpster, like a 10-yard dumpster, something like that. Throw it out the window of the attic, like into that dumpster, keep anything that there was. And I had to borrow other people's cars to drive it around because I didn't have anything to transport. So everything was on the borrowed dime, right? And then when I bring it in, sometimes I'd run into some serious collectibles. Like I found an original Super Soaker. I found a bunch of Marlboro, paraphernalia, such as like hammocks, things like that. And probably the most impressive thing that I found was an original set of Don Quixote books on vellum, leather bound. And those sold for thousands of dollars to a book collector. So you don't know what you're going to find until you get there. But then that funded a lot more of the business moving forward, and started getting into other things from that point, such as storage locker auctions with the extra money to bring in more of that inventory and then find more collectibles, things like that. So it was like Storage Wars or Pickers, those shows before it was cool, right? So I started doing that and then started getting into a more professional stance. So started out in design. Went from being a graphic designer, that's what I went to college for, worked professionally throughout all of my 5 years at RIT. And then from that point, started getting into custom software development, helped build an AI with that company, was interested in that, parted ways with them, started my own AI company, ran that for about 4.5 years, and then took a little hiatus of about 3-4 months, started a consulting company, and now we're here, but I'm on the board of 2 other companies, and I'm helping build other startups. One of the most impressive is probably an electrical engineering company. It's an electrical engineering technology made by 3DFS is the name of the company, and they've pretty much solved the power crisis. I mean, if you want to reduce the carbon footprint by 40% virtually overnight, as fast as you can implement it into a power grid, it can happen. So it's really incredible. I like working with extremely innovative technologies that are disruptive to a fault. So Rob G, you were talking about you like disruption. I live for it. I want to break the mold on everything. Usually the content that I make, I don't care if you're pissed off at the end of it after you see it, if you're happy, if you're sad, whatever, as long as you have an emotional reaction, it means I did my job, because things need to change, because we've been in this rut for the longest time. And for example, sales hasn't been the same since the .com era, when they were doing all the cold calling and then high volume outreach happened. Salesforce was created. You're able to do large distribution. HubSpot created the marketing email distribution platform, all that stuff. It became a just beat people to death with messaging until you can find somebody. That used to work because it was new and people couldn't tell that it was just a bunch of crap flying at them. Nowadays, people are smarter, and that's why it's never been harder to get in touch with people, which is why revenue operations and a quality over quantity approach that I preach about all the time is so important for a modern business, just like you mentioned in the beginning, Steve.
That's great. I appreciate that. Man, I tell you what, you were talking in the early part of that big rant you just did, which is awesome, by the way. I love your energy, by the way. So it's awesome. But you mentioned all the things you do, and I'm thinking to myself, this guy's lazy, man. He's just lazy. Like, no, I'm just kidding. But good stuff. Really, really, really amazing. Yeah. So we want to kind of roll here. So if you're ready, community. By the way, I want to give a shout out here. I know Yolanda. Thank you, Yolanda. Always an amazing, loyal community member here. We can count on you every time being on there with us, and thank you for shouting out Rob here. Amy Canarak, Greg, we saw each other this morning, so got to see you again. It's awesome. And Leanne, hello is in the house here as well. So great to have everyone on here. I know there's a bunch more that are not. Nick Simonetti's on here. Appreciate you, Nick, jumping on here. That's awesome. Yeah, get in the comments, connect with everybody. But let's move on to. We want you. Yeah, exactly. Thank you, Rob. We want to move on to the next topic, and so type in hashtag Hitman. Okay. So we want to hear a little bit about this. Okay. So tell us, Rob T, because there's two Robs. We were making fun backstage. It's Rob Squared. The show's Rob Squared today. But anyway, yeah. But so Rob T, if you could tell us, and of course Rob G, anytime you want to jump in, please. But tell us a little bit of how and why you refer to yourself as the RevOps Hitman.
So I didn't choose the name; it was given to me. I actually resented it up front, like at first. It was given to me by a magazine after I wrote an article. So the chief editor of GTM Mag, that's Julia. I wrote an article about revenue operations because people don't really know what it is, how it works, what the definition is, how it's applied. So did that entire thing. It was a large article, and I named it something. I don't remember what I named it originally, but it was something very technical because I'm an analytical guy. I thought it was exciting, but the average person would not think it's exciting. They think it's the most boring thing they've ever heard in their life. No one would read it. So Julia said, no one's going to read this article with this name, so I renamed it for you. And it was Confessions of a RevOps Hitman is what the name turned into. And then it stuck from that point forward, and everybody loved it. So I just kind of rolled with it and then built a business and brand around it because it was free marketing. Awesome. Also, but it comes from the fact that I'm ruthless. So that's kind of the idea.
Yeah, and could you expand a little bit on RevOps, revenue please, a little bit for those of us, I'm included, are a little bit ignorant to that. If you could just help with us.
So there are a lot of definitions, different definitions of revenue operations out there, or RevOps for short. And I don't agree with most of them because they do not actually capture what it is that revenue operations is. The closest I've seen to it was HubSpot's definition, which is shocking because they don't know the first thing about HubSpot, or about revenue operations. No offense, HubSpot. The thing is, what it is that you are taking all of the divisions within a company to de-silo it. So we exist within divisions, right? There's marketing, there's sales, there's customer success, there's engineering, there's product, you name it. And the problem with businesses is because of these divisions, which quite literally by definition means they're divided, they're not working together as a unified force. So the job of a revenue operations expert is everything that surrounds a customer and revenue, bringing money into the company. So it's de-siloing marketing, sales, customer success, product and engineering, as well as finance to work together as a data-driven, unified team. Often there's a lot of data transformation. There's a lot of operational process architecture that needs to be built for them to work together, communication process architecture. And once you get them to actually work together and communicate properly at both a data and a personal level, then you start seeing some serious results. So you can reduce cost without making cuts, but rather reduce cost by optimizing the process. And instead of sacrificing the customer service level, you can bolster it. You can make it even better, and it's less expensive to provide because of the optimization. So in short, unifying all of the teams within a business in a data-driven, client-centric way.
Wow, that's a mouthful. But so now, Rob, do you do this for all size companies? Can any size company do this kind of thing?
Oh yeah, absolutely. The bigger, the more difficult, depending on how deep they dug their hole. So it's about digging them out of that hole because they pick up a shovel thinking it's a rope often. Yeah, now if you start out as a new business, as a startup company, it is imperative to build these processes up front because that technical debt that racks up will not be there. For mid-market companies, it's a little bit more of a it's a green field in a sense where it's undoing some mistakes, but then also restructuring so it's more optimized. But when you're talking about an enterprise that's using very traditionalist architecture, it is a heavy lift, but it's possible for all businesses of all shapes and sizes or industries. I mean, whether even if it's B2B or B2C.
Nice.
That's amazing. Yeah, I tell you what, man. Thank God for people like you, Rob T, because I this is way above my pay grade. That's for sure.
Yeah, it's complex problems. And really, like, so one story behind it is that I was working with one client and they had a top of the funnel issue, right? They were firing salespeople, they were hiring new salespeople, they were blaming the sales team for everything. But really, what was going on is that it was a customer success issue. And not only that, but a customer success issue and communication issue with the product and engineering team. What's going on is that the sales team were getting quotas, erroneous quotas, just shoved down their throat with just a high volume outreach approach. Get as many clients as possible, churn and burn, baby, that style, old VC style.
Yeah.
And the problem from that is that they were mis-selling people. When they mis-sold people, they weren't happy. They were also not providing the customer success and service level they should have been. So people were complaining, asking for features. And so the dev team was building everything that had to do with what they were asking for. But the CS team wasn't documenting what was really going on with the long-term customers. And they weren't communicating what it is that they actually needed, not just what the squeaky wheel says. Because think about it. How many people will leave a positive review if they had a good experience versus how many people will leave a negative review if they had a bad experience?
Yeah.
There's a huge gap with that. Negative all day long. So the problem was with that communication issue, not logging the data properly or communicating, the sales team was now selling their ICP, right? Their total obtainable market. But since they innovated all of these features and these different parts of the platform that they sold in a way that was not attractive to their actual target customer, they were not able to sell because their target customers were like, well, this has a bunch of stuff I don't need, so I feel like I'm overpaying for it. I don't want to buy a bunch of features that I'm not going to use. Even though it was the same price, it was that psychology of half of this I don't need. And so they tanked all of their sales because they innovated beyond the point of being able to sell the product to who would buy it.
Yep, absolutely. Well, I just want to point out here what Leanne Hello said, right? Brilliant. I feel like successful entrepreneurs get this, and then it's lost as organizations are built. So good. So little shout out for my friend.
I mean, that is true. And like the larger the company, usually you end up buying innovation once you hit the enterprise phase where they don't innovate anymore.
Yeah, for sure. Well, we want to keep things rolling here. So, one of my favorite books is, and I'm just re-listening to it again, Simon Sinek's Start With Why. So type in #why community. And we want to get into, why, Rob T, why do you say quality over quantity is more an effective approach?
Yeah. So Simon Sinek's book is actually fantastic. I've read it myself. So definitely recommend it. It's great. But why a quality over quantity approach? Well, we've been battering the marketplace with messaging for so long. Automate. I am pro automation. I owned an AI company. I'm on the board of 2 other AI companies. Okay. So I am pro automation, but people automate the wrong things. The human aspect of sales, selling. People buy from people that they know, like, and can trust. It cannot be automated. You could do automated outreach. I'm not against that, like initial outreach, but you have to be smart about it and in smaller numbers. It's not a we need more leads problem. It's a we need to target better problem. The way to look at it is that to give kind of a visual, think of a tree. You have the roots. The roots of a tree feed the tree from the ground. They drink up water and they bring in minerals, right? You can't have a tree without roots. If the roots die, the tree's dead. Then you have the trunk of the tree right here. The trunk of the tree is your messaging. Most people focus on messaging when the roots are dead. It's not going to help. No matter how much you bolster that trunk, the tree's still going to die. Then you have the branches up here. The branches are going to be your communication methodology, your ability to build relationships and effectively have conversations. Then the leaves, those are the sales. Green like money. You need money to feed the company, and you need leaves to feed the tree. So if there are no leaves on the tree, if there are no roots on the tree is dead. But generally, there's no leaves because there's either no roots, the trunk is diseased, or the branches are broken. So you need to find out and start all the way from the bottom, from bottom to top, to know what's wrong, because you can spend millions of dollars on messaging and nothing will happen. So the point is here that it's about segmenting your marketplace, really understanding who your customer is, and then sub-segment the marketplace even more to build messaging that is relevant, because whoever came up with personalization at scale should be dragged behind a horse tarred and feathered, because it's not possible. Little curly brackets with the first name is not personalization. Personalization by definition means that it was made for specifically you. Right. AI is starting to get us there a little bit using contextual, right? But outside of that, you can be relevant at scale. That's what you have to try to do. And having smaller groupings of leads, like a couple hundred here, a couple hundred there, a couple hundred there, and segmenting it every which way and direction to have that really steady communication style with them is the way to go. So you can get away with a quality over quantity approach and see much better results with your response rate.
Let me just clarify here. So what are we talking about? Like, for the average person who's listening to you, what are we talking about? We're saying quantity. Quantity of what?
So quantity of messages that you send out and quantity of leads, right? People usually spray and pray, right? You get a list of 10,000 leads. You eat through that 10,000 leads list in 2 weeks? I've seen some people do in 5 days, 10,000 leads worth of outreach, which is absurd. Because what is it? The effectiveness rate of sales is 0.04%. Meaning, if you're reaching out cold, 0.04% of the time, it will actually go to the finish line and close. That is unacceptable. The effectiveness rate is not there. How do we improve that? It's because we're trying to do the old traditional pitch blast. Pitch, and then hope that something sticks. That's not how it works. You need to build a relationship first. They need to trust you. People think that since we have LinkedIn, something like that, it's not a sales platform. It's a networking platform. So you must network on that platform. And that's what people don't understand. People don't want to be pitched to. No one wants to be sold to. No one wants to be sold. They want to know that you can help solve a problem. What is a CEO's job? It seems that people forget that. The CEO's job is that they're at the top of the line, right? They're all the way at the tippy top of the company. They are a problem solver. If someone on the baseline can't solve a problem, they talk to their manager. If the manager can't solve a problem, they talk to the director. If the director can't solve the problem, they talk to the VP. If the VP can't solve the problem, they talk to the C-suite. If the CEO can't solve the problem, they need to outsource that solution.
Sounds
and
like
that's what people don't seem to understand anymore.
When you give us that example, it sounds like what you're talking about here is ultimately connection. Because when you shotgun, right, like you say, spray and pray, when you shotgun, you don't know what you're going to hit. I mean, would you take a shotgun to an archery range and like, oh, maybe I'll hit the bullseye? Well, no, you got to take an arrow specifically designed to focus into that one little dot in the center. So what you're talking about ultimately is connection. When you connect, you'll hit the target more times than not. Is that what we're saying?
Yeah, exactly. It's all about aim. Like, think about it. Would you use a shotgun with buckshot in it? Let's say you're in the military and you have a buddy who is taken as like a captor, right? And you need to get that buddy back. You're not going to use a shotgun with buckshot and just shoot it from 100 feet away and then hope that you take down the enemy. You're going to hit every single person in that spread, including your own guy. So that's friendly fire. Are you going to use a sniper rifle to do that? So if you use a sniper rifle, you could just aim and you could fire and you could take out the insurgents that you need to take out and leave your buddy perfectly fine, safe from harm. And that's what we're doing, is that we're taking a shotgun at 100-foot range using buckshot, which is not a smart idea. You're going to hit everything in that spread.
Yeah. All right. That's amazing. Good stuff. All right. Well, let's keep it rolling, because we're getting, wow, the time just flies on this show. It's crazy. We're right there. We got technically 5 more minutes, but we may go a few minutes over. But I want to talk about data a little bit. We touched on that before, right? So type in hashtag data community. And I would love for you to tell us the advantages of a data-driven process. You kind of touched on some of it, but let's dig into that just a little bit more if you can.
So the magic of data is what it can do for your business. And a lot of people are underwhelmed by it. It's boring. Nobody wants to talk about it. the thing with data is that it can tell the story of the past, present, and if it's interpreted properly, the future of your business. It's everything that you've done, that you're doing, and that you will do. There's no reason not to focus on it, because when you look at it properly, you analyze it properly, you look at all of the right data points and understand what it is. You know what's making you money, what's losing you money, what's losing you potential business, what's gaining you potential business, and you could differentiate what's going on within your company, not only at a sales perspective, but as an internal perspective. Is that when you're collecting this data properly and sharing it between teams, the marketing team won't be pitted against the sales team fighting each other. They're going to work together. The sales team is going to say, this is why people are buying, in the words of the customer. The marketing team can embody that. And then the CS team can embody that message. And the CS team can say, this is why people continue to work with us. And then use that information to market to more people to bring in more sales, or to market to their existing customers to cross-sell and upsell. And like, for example, in an enterprise environment, 40% of unearned revenue is sitting within your existing customer base. Why? Because of the failure to cross-sell and upsell other products and services that they may offer. This also applies down to mid-market and small business, but not at the scale of how much revenue is left on the table because of the market share. Okay. So with that said, is that if you're not looking at your data and understanding who your buyers are, who your customers are, who your bad leads are, and a lot of people don't even make an anti-ICP. Who shouldn't we be targeting? How shouldn't we be talking about it? It needs to be built around the customer. So I hope that gives a little bit insight in a simple way without getting technical about it, is that your data tells that story that you need to grow your business effectively, faster, and with being precise rather than guessing the entire time, making decisions based on a gut feel.
Yep, absolutely.
So we're talking about understanding. Ultimately, it's an understanding of the client and their needs.
Yeah, and the understanding of your business as well.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, because and you know, obviously in my world, it's connecting, it's networking, right? I know Cameron had a great little point that he brought up here. I'll just try to pull this up here.
And Steve, I have a question for you about that same thing. Once you
Sure. Yeah, please. Let's just read this or connect with people. I'm really tired of the 5-paragraph messages when people don't know me, no selling me. Alternatively, really don't like the message of how are things going from someone who don't really have that kind of relationship with. So yeah, it's so true, right? It's a balance, right? But it's getting to know people. But what was your question? Go ahead, Rob.
Oh yeah, I was going to say to Cameron, you're absolutely correct. First and foremost, is that these long paragraphs, people are not attracted to that. So a piece of advice to everybody here, if you're doing LinkedIn outreach, is that if you send yourself the message and you can see within that box, or like one of your employees or like a friend or something like that, you send it to them to test it out. What does it look like when you open it up on your phone? What does it look like when you open it up on your computer, and not with the expanded tab? If it is larger than the window, then you are way off base. Not a single soul is going to read that. So you're going to want to do it. So try 2 lines, 3 lines, 2 lines as a maximum. And that's a nice break too, because text, whether we like it or not, is a visual thing. It's geometrics.
Yeah.
And some things are more attractive than others. So you can look into the psychology behind how many lines of text need to be within a message for it to be attractive to read.
Yeah.
And then my question to you, Steve, is since you live in the connector world, you live in the networking world, what difference does it make to have good data versus poor data? I mean, like the actual delta between having poor and good data, what type of difference does that make?
Well, for those people that are way better than me at networking and connecting, they say that you really have to really keep track of what your response rates are, what what the metrics are, and then what kind of messaging to put out because it works, right? What works better versus what doesn't. I'm not as good at tracking all that stuff. I've got probably my bandwidth is too filled up like yours, so I don't have the bandwidth, which is an excuse, I'm sure, but to really track properly. But I understand that in networking and connecting, yeah, definitely in the networking world, like LinkedIn, the more you could track stuff, the better. And then you can actually figure out, okay, what works better versus what doesn't.
Or what about this, Steve? That said, and that's true because bandwidth is a thing behind it. So it's putting in these automated processes to be able to track, because that's what automation should be doing, is that erroneous, nonsensical work where it's just repetitive and data tracking. You can just get reports, right? But how about the lead data itself? If the lead data is good or if the lead data is bad, the difference that it makes is astronomical, right?
Sure. Yeah, no doubt.
So, in
Yeah,
the
I'm not even
branding
talking
world,
about the tracking part because you can go into LinkedIn, they have some analytics, but I'm even talking about just testing this or try testing that or testing that bandwidth part. What were you gonna say, Rob?
I was going to say in the branding world, you talk about the lead data and understanding, making that connection. Even Jedediah put it in the comments about niching down. From the branding perspective, when you know who you're talking to and you have a full understanding of knowing who you're talking to, and at a very kind of micro level, if Rob, you and I first met, right, we get to know each other a little bit before anything else, before we can make any judgment or decide what's the opportunity between us. When you know who you are talking to, you know exactly how to talk to them. So you get a much more connected message. And I know you were talking about the tree, Rob, with the messaging being part of the trunk. Well, you don't want to spray the quantity of message, because if the message is wrong and it's not hitting the right people, then the message doesn't matter. And the people listening are going, this doesn't pertain to me.
And you're sacrificing your reputation.
Yeah, well, there's being tone deaf. You're not listening to what I'm saying. No more the most valuable skill out there is the listening skill. And when people don't feel like you are listening to them, then they feel like they're being sold, because you just have this message. And like you said before, when you forget your analogy, they need a shovel, but all they got is a rope or something like that, where they have the wrong tool.
Oh, they're reaching for a rope, but it's actually a shovel.
It's actually a shovel because you don't know any better. You've got, I got this, so I guess I'll use this, right? So it's like when you got a hammer, every problem looks like a nail because this is all I've got. But when you really understand who you're talking to and you know how to talk to them, you make that connection, and then you're better able to solve their problem, right?
Exactly. And sometimes it does work, though. I mean, if you have a screwdriver and you need to hammer in nails, you can use the handle of it and beat it in there, but you're very likely to slice your hand open or bend the nail, right? It can be done, but I don't recommend it.
Yeah, no doubt about it.
Exactly.
For sure. Exactly. Well, good stuff. Well, yeah, we're gonna skip one more here, and I just we're about community, we're about connection here. So want to ask you this. So type in #community, my community, and we're gonna get into this last question as we wrap up here. And so maybe you can and I Rob, while I'm asking the question, if you can multitask, I think there's a link that you wanted for us for a giveaway, and I never got that from you. So if you have that available, put it in the private chat. We could probably post it out for you. But anyway, in the meanwhile, community, right? What's your take on building a community and growing your connections, right? We were touching on that on our side, right? Because we're the Master Connector show. I know you talk more about RevOps and data driven and all that, but what about on the connecting and building a community side? What's your take on that?
Well, building a community is important, and yeah, I'll get you that link. So I'll answer this. I'll get you that link.
Sure, no problem.
So building a community is important, and that's something that enterprises pay out the nose to accomplish. I mean, look at the Nike SB campaign. They were just finding any Tom, Dick, or Harry on the street who was good at skateboarding just to get a community around them that were popular in different areas. I know I'm using that as one example, but look at Apple. It's a cult following. You wouldn't be able to get someone to switch from an iPhone to an Android. You'd have to pry it from their cold, dead hands. Right. It creates loyalty. And everybody who's in this community that's speaking right now, and by the way, Leanne, you had a fantastic comment before. I don't want to scroll up and look at it, but very, very good point made. But it's the community that drives everything. If you can have a community, and some of the best communities out there are these private Slack groups where so much business is done in between one another. And if anybody doesn't know the term for that right now, and this is a hot term that's going to be popular soon if it's not already, is dark social. Dark social means it's invite only. It means that it's private. It means that it's not a public forum, right? Yep. Dark social is one of your best selling tools. So community builds more than just a place to sell. It builds connections, relationships, trust between people in a way that cannot be done otherwise with cold outreach or any traditionalist form of anything. If you can create a community, you have created one of the most powerful revenue generating, idea generating, and trust generating, I guess, platforms, for lack of a better term, that you could possibly create. So Steve, what you've done here, and Rob, what you've done here with this community is absolutely incredible, because this is something that a lot of people wish they could do and they can't. The magic behind it is giving someone a reason, a drive, and a mode of communication when you build a community So I've helped build a couple community, Discord communities, Slack communities. The missing pieces is that it's about the host of the community more times than not than it is about the community members. If it's not member driven, it's a waste of time is the way that people interpret it. So what you've done here is an incredible thing by making such an experiential experience for everybody.
Well, that's definitely kudos to Steve for sure. And, one of the key things, the foundations behind a lot of what we're talking about, no matter what we're talking, whether we're talking about RevOps or we're talking about community, it's about connection. It's Steve and I, like we were talking about at the beginning, we go back 27 years. Steve and I, we came together at a time when both of us, probably me more so than him, were very clueless. I mean, didn't have a clue. Whereas Turley's starting businesses at 12, I think by the time I was hitting 30, I was still trying to figure things out. But we came together and we share a journey together, and Steve, a lot of you know that Steve has written a book and, the Tao of a Master Connector. He is the Master Connector. This is the Master Connector show. I urge you to pick up this book. I actually read it, of course. Steve been a good friend of mine. Plus, I know he's got a lot to offer. I know his story. I know where he came from. We grew up through the same mentorship, through a lot of the same coaching, through a lot of the same ideas and principles. We learned them together. And, we went kind of our separate ways a little bit, but then we came together through networking, by the way, through in-person networking, and brings us here today, coming together for this. So pick up a copy of that book. We can put that in the chat for you. I'm sure it's going to enrich your life as it has so many people.
Oh yeah, I'm excited to read it myself. And Rob, what you're saying too, having a mentor, you and Steve had the same mentor. That is such an important thing because I wouldn't be anywhere where I am today if I didn't have my mentor, Marcus Gaugy. He's absolutely incredible. One of the most intelligent CROs and famous CROs out in the UK. And I wouldn't be half of what I am today if it wasn't for him. So everybody should have a mentor. Don't think you're better than that because you're not. There are people who are far more experienced than you and far more intelligent than you are at any given time. There's no such thing as definitives. There's no best, worst, least, most. There's no such thing because there's always something bigger, better, and badder out there or much worse than you. If you think you're the worst, there is worse. Oh, you're on mute, Steve.
Mute, Steve. Unmute that guy.
Thank you, sir. My rookie mistake here. I hung up my T-shirt. You're on mute T-shirt from 2021, right?
There's a slogan of 2020 is you're on mute.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I mean, mentorship, right, is crucial. And then there's a lot of people that throw around mentors, and this is not a message about your mentor, Rob, but for Rob and I, at the time, our mentor, I mean, I can speak for me, I think Rob too, but I've been to his house multiple times. He's been to my home multiple times, right? That, true relationship, right? There's a lot of mentors that you see mentors from afar, right? They're the Gary V's, the Grant Cardones, the Ed Milet's. They're amazing, right? I saw a post from a guy in my profile. We had a great connect call. JJ, his name is JJ Dynamite. If you Rob and I are similar ages, so we remember that show. But JJ Walker, but you're probably too young, Rob, to know this. But Rob T. But anyway, yeah, okay. So he was referencing his two mentors, John Maxwell and Bob Berg. Amazing people. I love John Maxwell and I love Bob Berg, but I don't know them personally, right? Yeah, Bob was on our show. We had him on. It's great. And by the way, we did have a really good show on the Dark Social a while back. So if you're on here, go to our masterconnector.show website and you could see this link to go back and see some of our previous episodes. But one of our episodes was on the Dark Social. It was a very intriguing topic. But anyway, we could go on and on. We're way over time. Rob Squared, Rob T, Rob G. You guys are amazing. We appreciate you. So were you able to post that link? And if not, and why are you doing that?
All you have to do is just request access because it's restricted content. I sell it usually, but everybody who's here today is going to get it for free. So just put in the request and then you got it.
Okay, so tell us a little bit about, if you can, what
this
you
is
offer.
The RevOps Hitman LinkedIn Engagement Bible. And what I've done is that I've gamified the LinkedIn algorithm for content releases. So when you release content, how you're supposed to release it, when you're supposed to release it, how engaged you need to be, what the author's part is, the role that they play, and then actually created a point system out of it. So I gamified it based on the type of post, how active the post is, and then it gives you the best chance of making a post go viral if you follow the instructions that are set within there. I think everybody's really going to like it.
That's awesome. Yeah, that is amazing. I'm going to go grab my free copy too.
Oh yeah, no, it's great. So it's people have absolutely loved it, and of course, it's always changing over time. You don't have access to LinkedIn's APIs to see the actual data going behind it. So this was based on manual viewing of, okay, this post grew this much due to this much engagement. This is when it happened. So it was all based on timing. So it was manually done. It was a painstaking process that took nearly 4 months.
That's awesome. It's good stuff. So as we're wrapping up here, and we're going to close things out, just tell the community, besides getting their free 15-minute consult link, tell the best way that the community can connect with you, and any closing 20-second.
Oh yeah, you can connect with me on LinkedIn via email at rob@revopshitmanconsulting.co, right? Or you can contact me on my cell. Just shoot me a text message. I'll hand that out on this show. And I know that sounds crazy, but I'll do it. It's 845-746-6090.
Yep. And Jedediah, just the link should be in the comments here. It should be somewhere. So just go ahead and grab it. If not, just reach out to me and I'll make sure we get it for you. Or reach out to Rob T, for sure.
Oh yeah, feel free. Happy to do any free 15-minute consults. I'm sure that Steve is too. I'm sure that Rob is too. So
yeah, sure. And connect with Rob G too, because he is the man. He's got a company called Beast Brands, and just incredible brand man here. So we appreciate you guys. So next week's show is going to be amazing. We have it's Get Unstuck. Clarify your message. Michelle Griffin. She's been on our show a few times before. She's incredible. So Rob G, if you, I don't know if you had a chance to post that, but if you can post that, that'd be beautiful. Appreciate that. And there's a link for the LinkedIn profile, the LinkedIn event page that you want to get your, get registered for that. This way you can make sure you get reminded on it. But we are very blessed to have you on our, we love our community. We, if this is a blessing to you, share it with your community. If you're watching it on the replay, type in #replay. So we know that you're watching it after the fact. And just appreciate you. Let's get back. Make sure you come back next week. I know Rob G will be back with us. If you're enjoying Rob G as my co-host, tell us so, right? We want to have some feedback. Obviously, we want to hear how you feel about Rob T as well. But this is something we're trying out here. So let us know if you're enjoying it. But anyway, we're going to close out here. We're going to close out with a video. This video, even though Cameron is not part of the show, I know is watching. We still want to honor him. He's been an amazing part of what we've done here. And
if he's listening, congratulations on the success.
Thank you. Yeah, and I know he's, on his behalf, I know he's saying thank you. So, but let's get this party closed up. And again, we'll see you guys next week. Rob G, you did an amazing job co-hosting with me. Appreciate you, sir. Excited for what's to come in the future. And we'll see you guys next week. And listen, as I like to say, be the light. We are in a dark world right now. Lots of crazy stuff between the weather challenges and news and all this crazy stuff, right? I mean, but you know what? If we could just be a light, and just like the cliche, and Rob and I have experienced this. We were in a conference where they had a stage, and then one person lit their candle, and then a few people lit their candle, and by the time the whole room was lit up, because everything was dark when they did it. I should have said that. The only thing that you could see is like the exit sign lights, right? And then the one person lit a candle, and then within like a couple of minutes, not even, the whole place was lit up because of one candle. Beautiful. So be the light, and when you light somebody's candle, your candle stays lit. It doesn't take your candle out. So just be the light. Let's inspire everybody. Love you guys. Have an incredible day. Check out the video, and we'll see you guys next week. Love you guys. Appreciate you guys.